Alright, so in this video I want to share with you 5 things that all of us probably are doing and or have done and or will most definitely experience or already have experienced to some degree or another at some point in our life. In other words, these are pretty ubiquitous and unfortunately very popular dynamics or behaviors or ways of relating to the world, which are actually subhuman and subtly very violent. And we're all done a disservice because we think violence is just physical violence or physical abuse or some strong form, but there's a whole lot of psychic and psychological violence that we all commit, probably towards ourselves that we're unaware of, and probably towards other people that we don't even know about. So I know I probably just lost lots of people at all of that, which is fine, but for those of us who are interested in actually having a more humane and a more nonviolent experience, we have to understand that it starts with ourselves and how we treat ourselves and how we relate to ourselves internally, because that is actually a real world, believe it or not, and how we relate to other people, which is also a real world, believe it or not. So the first thing is making ourselves subservient to a self-image, an institution, or another person, or if you're lucky, all three. Just kidding. And this could really show up in a lot of different ways. The most common, in my opinion, is probably religion and or new aginess and or cult sort of mentality, where there is kind of an undeveloped or sort of damaged or stained or guilty or evil or impure sense of self that wants to go and join other people who believe the same thing and then follow a certain set of rules and guidelines or a certain person or a certain teaching or an ideal or a mission, and then basically be delivered to some better person, place, or thing. And I don't just mean religion when I say that. It could be a whole lot of different things. And that's actually something which I find personally hilarious, is that a lot of people that I see who claim they're either atheists or maybe I'm a real science person or I'm a real just go with the flow emotional new agey person, they can actually be at the core still really just Christians, because the same fundamental dynamics and processes and ways of seeing the self and other and the world are still there, but there's just different things layered on top to fit that person's particular likes or dislikes or whatever self-image they may be trying to create. But fundamentally, it's actually all the same. It's not really different. But I've broken that down in other videos, so there's no need to go into that now. But that's basically, honestly, an act of violence towards yourself, is to automatically make yourself subservient to some self-image that you make up about yourself, something that someone tells you, or throwing yourself over to some institution or another person. Another person could be some savior, guru figure, or even just in relationships. This happens a lot. People really sacrifice themselves because they think they're going to get something from the relationship, which is different. Obviously, if you have kids or things like that, obviously I get that. These are not these are not like commandments. These are just processes, living things which you have to filter through your own intelligence. And number two, thing which is actually kind of violent, is reducing a living being, which is big, complex, multidimensional, multifaceted thing, hopefully, to reducing them to a mechanistic and simplistic label or, quote, diagnoses. So the most obvious examples would be racism or sexism. You know, I live in Portland, I'm on the West Coast, and if I were to go up to someone and see, if I saw a girl on the street being like, oh, "You're just being such a woman," you know, a lot of women, "Oh, what? Oh," and get really offended. Or, you know, if I saw a person of a certain ethnicity and be like, "Oh, of course you would do that. You're such a whatever race you are." People are like, "Dude, you're fucking racist. You're sexist. You're ignorant. What's wrong with you?" We all kind of get that, hopefully, and understand that it's not really cool and it's not really accurate. However, This happens all the time. Personally, people will send me emails and comments and say, "Oh, you're such this, you're such that, you are this, you are that," because of some one comment that was taken or whatever. It's like, all right. But also, the main point of what I'm saying is that personally, our modern medical and psychiatric system is also largely violent and inhumane because the fundamental backbone is a textbook definition of things and then putting those labels on things. Oh wait, I mean people. They're not things anymore. Oh wait, they are things because here the file and here this person's now a number. Now they're a thing. They're no longer a complex person. So what happens is we have this complex experience. Maybe you have a couple symptoms, throw the label or wait, I'm sorry, a diagnosis on you, and now all of a sudden you are the thing. So then what happens is the person who just got the diagnosis says, well, what? Well, wait, you're an authority figure and you're telling me this, so I'm conditioned to believe you. Maybe there's something to it. And then that creates a whole kind of paranoid mindset in the person where everything becomes filtered through that lens. Then the quote expert is also seeing the person through that limited lens as well, saying, oh, well, a person with that would say that, so it makes sense. And then the whole dynamic becomes extremely violent and extremely 1984 and extremely oppressive. But that's normal. This is what we pay for. This is what we pay billions of dollars to do, is to basically be abused and have violence inflicted upon us. And I'm not going to go into specifics about how many people die every year just from medical neglect, or how many people die every year from pharmaceuticals, or how many people are addicted to pharmaceuticals, or the amount of negative that is caused by that system. I'm not going to go into that because there's obviously also some positive things. If you're in a car accident, you're not really just going to be like, oh, I'm going to just go get some acupuncture and some herbs and this compound fracture is just going to like sort itself out. It's ridiculous. It's not what I'm saying. Which actually, coincidentally enough, leads us to point number 3, which is thinking and speaking in simplistic, moralistic, and idealistic platitudes. So if I were to be on here and say, all religions are fucking garbage, all this stuff is stupid, the medical system is completely ruined, it's wrecked, the world is terrible, it's all bad, that would be pretty violent and pretty ignorant. And that's not what I'm saying, and that's what you think I'm saying. I don't know what to tell you, but it's not. Because believe it or not, if you have a thing, like for example, I have this tea, right? I have this cup, and I have this brew that I just made. It's delicious, it's amazing, it's some of the best tea on the planet, but maybe I messed up. Maybe there's some ways in which it could be better. That doesn't mean I'm saying the tea is evil and it's terrible and we have to get rid of it. No, I'm just saying, oh, well, next time could be a little bit better. But right now it's still pretty good. Anyways, back to the point is thinking and speaking in simplistic, moralistic, and idealistic platitudes. What do I mean? Saying things like, well, it's just how it is. Well, that's just how people are. Or, well, it's just biology. Or flipping it around and saying, well, this thing will serve me and be profitable in these ways. And really approaching people and situations in life through those basic simplistic ways. Which, what does that mean? And, can we specifically understand that? Well, basically, let's look at slavery and the oppression towards women. Now, all we have to do is look at history and realize that, and ask, well, who was doing it? How were they funded? How did they feel justified and entitled to commit those things? And I'm not going to say it was monotheistic religion. I'm just going to say ask those questions and do the research and see where it goes. And all I'm really going to personally say and claim is the exact justifications, just, well, it's just how it is, or that's just how it's always been, it's just tradition, or that's just how I was raised. I've heard this a lot, from people, because gay marriage is legal now in America. I've heard people say, well, that's just not how I was raised. What? Really? Or, people say, oh, we have to change things. We can't change things. This is tradition. This is just always how it's been done. Or even this will serve me and be profitable in X, Y, and Z ways. And all I'm suggesting is, can we see and imagine how if we take righteous indignation and moral superiority based on the first three or the first two things that I've listed in combination with the third could easily create a mindset which could oppress and enslave other people without really conscience? I don't know, just something to consider. Which leads me to point number 4, which is really common in our world today and is also extremely violent. And that is the inability to reflect and observe a thing without emotional reactivity, defensiveness, and or taking things personally. Which usually what that means is it just ends up as a personal attack on the other person. Because what happens is we have an idea or something we hold to be just sacred and at the top of the pyramid, and someone says something other than it being at the top of the pyramid, and we feel this internal pain or this internal strife, and then we have to put that on the other person because we can't handle it. We don't want to say, well, wait a minute, this is just an idea, it's just a belief which I have, and this word from this other person is threatening it or hurting it in some way. Wait a minute. Rather than saying, well, wait, if I was actually secure, I don't really care what anyone would say because I am secure, but I do, so I'm not, so wait. But that's all hard work, so you say, you know what, you are some insult. Well, I'm just going to commit the other, everything else from this list. Whatever. And obviously, we're all human. No one's perfect. We all get emotional sometimes. We all react sometimes. Whatever. It's just basically having the awareness and, yeah, and starting to investigate things and ask questions. And then the last thing is basically pushing your reality onto another person without invitation. And this is a thing which religious people tend to do a lot. And keep in mind, what I mean by religion is not just like religion, like going to church, but could be that you are a CrossFit guy or a paleo person or a vegan or a vegetarian or a yoga person. Or it could be anything. And that's what I was saying earlier about how all these people are doing things that are on the surface different, but at the core still just basically Christianity or another monotheistic religion, which is funny because the moniker or the belief system of, yoga or paleo CrossFit or fucking rewilding or all these other things, it's all about being, progressive or this or that or outside the box or open, alternative, evolutionary or all these different things. But at the core, it's probably still held back by the same morbid, salvational, hierarchical, mechanistic type of thinking which underlies dogma of all shapes and sizes. And that, which is fine, because we're all free to do what we want to do and have our own reality. However, when we push it on other people without invitation, then that starts to be a bit, I don't know, maybe a time to reflect. And obviously this video is in many ways kind of this, because I'm sharing with you kind of my experience and why I think certain things. But the fact is that there is an invitation because I didn't make you. Like, if I recorded this video, then showed up at your house, pulled out a gun, put the video on the TV and made you watch it, that's not really with an invitation. But the fact is it's on YouTube. You could click out at any time, so you don't really, no one's forcing you to do anything. You signed up for it, basically is what I'm saying. So those are the 5 things. Hopefully I haven't completely offended everyone or discredited myself at this point too much just yet. But I think these are things which are extremely common, and even though sometimes they're not so overt, sometimes that just means they just happen even more. Because people think really life is about finding the hidden or finding the esoteric or the weird or getting the secrets or getting the best, when usually it's about actually getting in touch with what's right in front of our face. And the hardest thing to see is what's right in front of us. The hardest thing to crack is the obvious. Secret, esoteric, whatever is whatever it is. But if we can't actually see what's in front of us, if we're operating at the periphery of our experience, no teaching will really help us, because we don't have the internal ability to actually absorb and digest and actually attain depth with anything. Anyways, thanks for watching this video. Hopefully it's been helpful and given you some food for thought and or questions to consider. And like the video, post a comment. Honestly, I hope people get really mad and insult me from this video, just so I can be like, hey, did you check out point number A, B, or whatever? Which it'll probably happen, because what happens is people just see the title, don't watch the video, and then just try to like insult or criticize me. But anyways, thanks for watching. Hopefully you're just gonna continue to have a divine, blessed day, and I'll talk to you soon.